In order to truly label a lesson as an example of critical pedagogy, the lesson must first qualify and hold all of the essential tenets of critical pedagogy. And these following examples from the composing unit created by myself, Eileen Giardino, Dan Grayberg, and Derek Cressman, you will see how each of the several tenets of critical pedagogy were met within this lesson, despite the several different methodologies that were used throughout the lesson. Perhaps the most cliched and misconceived tenet of critical pedagogy is that of honoring the student's world. Now, it doesn't mean praising or honoring their world so much that it takes away from the content of the lesson, because then nothing would ever get done. You'd simply be telling them what they already know. Rather, this idea is that our students do not come to us as blank slates, but rather full of experiences and understanding and concepts before we see them. In all of these lessons within this composing unit, the students were at one point or another during the lessons required to bring in either a song from their music library, a music video, or skills that they had learned in previous music classes, such as piano playing, singing, notation reading, etc. So we had a lot of this construction based off of what they already knew. It is this basis of what the students know that we can build on what they don't know, and therefore have it guide our planning rather than vice versa. Authentic tasks are tasks that students would actually be doing in the real world with the concepts learned within class. It is my philosophy that these tasks should be used within the context of everyday lessons as usual. In these lessons throughout the composing unit, students were asked to compose, which in it of itself is a authentic task of professional musicians, but also contains other skills and abilities that are authentic tasks, including listening, analysis, honest self-evaluation, and critical thought, comparing and contrasting, and the ability to pick out musical aspects and apply the understanding of musical concepts to make preference judgments based within the music. The locus of control and power within the classroom in a critical pedagogical thought is shared between the student and the teacher. In this compositional unit, there is a lot of co-constructive learning as well as reciprocal learning. Students were asked in the final lesson, the big picture lesson, to become the teacher and present to their classmates and us as teachers 5 musical aspects within a song from their own library, which culminated from the understanding of the previous lessons. In this instance, the students had all of the authority and maintained locus of control in the class, but in other instances, students were peer teaching with each other, were discussing with us on an equal level as students and teachers, or discovering new concepts in a co-constructivist way, which leveled the playing field between the authoritative teacher and the oppressed student. One of the most important aspects of the critical pedagogical model is that of adding value to the students' lives, not necessarily just information. I believe that these units all added value not only with the content that the students didn't know, but with the application of the content to their daily musical lives. With the addition of their new understanding of harmony, melody, and the compositional aspects of songs, students were able to understand their value and importance not only in their own daily musical life, but in their social life as a community and as a human being. One of the most important aspects of critical pedagogy is that the content learned in class is not alienated or separated from the context of the culture where it comes from. In part of the composing unit, we did a blues lesson, and among other issues that were discussed, with the students was the issue of authenticity, specifically with African American artists and white artists in popular blues music. We also discussed the realization that the students had that there are many pop songs which use the 12-bar blues progression, and whether this was an authenticity issue with regards of how do we popularize blues music if we are not an African American individual. And several of the other lessons, the issues of monetary gain versus artistry, as well as the issues of how a culture is represented based by the popular music of the time, not necessarily the different segments of music or genres that there are. And I think that without this discussion, number one, we couldn't say honestly that the unit was designed with critical pedagogy in mind at the forefront all the time. And it would also remove the content from a connectivism approach from connecting the content back to the student's reality, which is where all of these lessons and the unit plan itself begin. Now, the ultimate goal in any lesson plan designed with critical pedagogical thought is a gradual shift in perception or a change in how a student may look upon certain content or certain subject, or the value of that content in their lives. This unit by far met this goal, just as evidenced by not only the reflective blogging that the students did within each lesson, but also the ultimate blogs that they did at the end of the entire unit. We had several students who, on their Ning.com account page, mentioned how the way that they listen to music has completely changed because of what they've learned in general music class. We had one student say that he finds it difficult now to listen to the regular pop songs on his iPod and not think about all the effort that went into it, and then that he has more respect for his favorite artists now. Also, we had another student who confided that although he did not agree with some of our choices for music in the class, he could now understand and respect why people enjoyed that music, and why the songwriters and composers wrote the music that way, and what thought went into it. I think that this change of perception, this ability to empathize with others' and musical preference, and to fully understand and articulate their own musical preferences based on a sound musical foundation, it will completely and utterly change the perception that these students had before they walked into the room of music.